Welcome to Energy Stew. This is Peter Roth, your host, and I'd like to ask you, how luminous is your life? Can you tell? Do you know? What does that mean? So we're going to talk to the author who's been on Energy Stew many times over the years, not as recent, but we know each other very well. And he's the author of a book called Luminous Life. What a perfect book for us to talk about. Jacob Liberman, welcome back to Energy Stew.
Peter, it's a pleasure to see you again. Always sweet.
Well, you know, it's always a pleasure to talk with you because you always bring so much with you, heart and soul, and
Thank you.
um, and great wisdom. So this book, Luminous Life, and there's a subtitle, How the Science of Light Unlocks the Art of Living. So so there's an art to all this too. So, um, what is a luminous life?
Well, imagine that our life and our essence and who we are and how we show up is a piece of glass. Now, if that piece of glass is perfectly polished,
There's a sheet of glass you're talking about.
sheet of glass, yes, is perfectly polished, has no imperfections, light will impact that glass and go through it as if the sheet of glass doesn't exist.
Right. And we see that in our lives with our windows, etc.
Yeah. However, if that sheet of glass has some imperfections, some dust, some anything, when light interacts with those places, the light will reflect or the light will be absorbed or the light will be bent, refracted in a certain direction. And so what you end up with is if some of the light is being reflected and some is being bent in odd directions and some is being absorbed, the light that leaves the pane of glass is less than the light that entered the pane of glass. So you get less light, and the brightness is also reduced. So when you speak of the word luminous, you think of something that's bright, something that's shining, something that's emitting, if you will. So then we begin to look at our lives and we say, our bodies are continually interacting with information, which you can call vibratory information. Some in the form of light, some in the form of sound, smell, taste, and so on. And then the body has this aspect that hardly anyone understands, that we have been led to believe is running everything. It's the thing that caused us to be more evolved than the other creatures. It's this thing called the mind. And we've been led to believe that each of us has this. So then we refer to it as my mind. And we've been led to believe that my mind can be open. I have an open mind. I can change my mind. I don't mind it. Now, that's a very interesting one. I don't mind it. Most of the time, we mind certain things and we don't mind others. We've been conditioned that certain things, you don't mind those, but other things, you definitely mind them.
Right.
And so the mind is this aspect that causes all of us to be suffering from a case of mistaken identity because we've been led to believe that we are the mind and its contents.
And heaven forbid the mind is fallible.
Well, it's fallible most of the time. It's rarely accurate, and most thinking is worrying, and most of our worries never actually materialize.
Right.
So it's a very inaccurate tool that we have been conditioned to be addicted to.
That's for sure.
And because it's inaccurate, it doesn't transmit the light that is impinging our humanity. It reflects it, it refracts it, it absorbs it, it diminishes it. So when
I
you
think
say,
that's why there's a coming five-dimensional reality that we're going to be blending into, where the mind is less important.
well, on one level, we are beginning to uncover the truth that sets one free. On another level, we have so much of our reality is a mental reality, and yet life is not what we think. It's something very, very different than that. So, what is the importance of having this experience of a luminous life? Is that that light, which is just vibration and which is invisible. Light cannot be seen. We experience brightness, which is a perceptual phenomenon, but light itself is totally invisible. It's formless.
Mm.
And perhaps this is why the Bible says God, whatever the creative force is, and of course it's nameless, but we'll just use that as an example. God is light. Consciousness is light. A quantum physicist, you ask, what's the nature of reality? The foundational energy from where life emerges is the energy of light. So light is a very, very potent aspect of life, with which nothing can exist. Keep in mind, we live in a portion of the universe called the solar system. Solar system means of or derived from light. So we actually are light beings, and this is why light is so important in our lives. And to give you an example, a tree or a plant never has to say or think about or decide, should I grow up or should I grow down? Why? Because light literally guides that tree to grow toward it.
Well, I think we grow that way too.
Oh, without a question. That's exactly why I'm mentioning that simple example.
Right.
Plants literally orient themselves to a amount of light, and so do humans. Now, light is invisible, and yet it is the foundational energy from where life, which is what we call visible, emerges from. Why is that so important? Because our guidance, and probably the guidance of all living things, I'm going to take out probably, and the guidance of all living things is directed by that invisible energy.
But I want to ask you about the source of light, like the sun or light bulbs. So we see bright lights that illuminate a room. Without it, a room is totally dark.
Right.
There's nothing. So how is light coming from a bright source like a light bulb invisible?
What we are perceiving is brightness. The energy of light is not perceptible in the common way that we perceive things. And light is essentially created by packets of vibrational information called photons. Photons are totally invisible, cannot describe them, cannot see them, and yet the human eye has cells that are photosensitive, light sensitive. 5% of those cells detect color and fine detail. 95% of those cells, called rods, detect and respond to a single photon of light. I'm talking about the furthest edge of quantum mechanics. Our physical eyes are more sensitive to light than any other technology that exists on the planet. There is no technology that we've developed that is more sensitive to light than the rods, which are cells in the retina of the human eye. Why is that important? It means we are literally hardwired to detect the invisible before it takes form. Why is that important? We are continually being guided by that which hasn't occurred, isn't seen, isn't heard. Why is that important? That guidance is coming to us to always keep us on track.
I agree that's the larger picture that our eyes uh, receive, may way beyond the scope of our human mind. But
Right.
at the same time, how does photography work? How do you get an image of what you're seeing on a screen or a sheet of paper that represents what your eyes do see, and a camera can pick it up as well?
The eyes, where that seeing occurs, is probably somewhere in that mysterious thing called consciousness.
Right, but film isn't conscious. So a sheet of film. I used to be a professional photographer, so I worked with lots of film, and it was really tricky to get the right images onto that sheet of film correctly. And and so that's what our eyes see, even of course a million times more than what the film sees. But the film does pick up, you might say two-dimensional image, but then there's also holographic photography that can pick up a three-dimensional image.
Well, holography is beyond 3 dimensions.
Right, exactly.
Holography is perception everywhere, simultaneous, multidimensional perception.
Right, and you might say we live in a holographic reality.
The point that I'm making is this. I'm not an expert on how a camera creates a picture. What's important to me is, and the reason that's not something that I know about or is even important to me, is that we live in a world that we see in the form of those same pictures like the camera takes.
Right.
And yet we've become successful at everything except life.
Well, we know that's the limitation of our minds, interpreting what we see, because our conscious mind is only fed a very small portion of what our subconscious sees.
It's not a limitation of the conscious mind. It's that the conscious mind is not designed to see at that level.
Right. It can't, because it's too much for it.
I think what's important for our discussion is to uncover what is that aspect of our humanity that sees clearly,
Right.
that knows
Right.
without knowing how it knows.
Right. Well, we're learning slowly.
Well, it's I'm not sure well, I'm not sure how to answer that question, so I'll just let that one go for a second.
Right.
The
But by the way, my school is Heart River Center for Soul Growth, but it's um, uh, using intuitive awakening. And
right.
so what the idea is that we can awaken to these deeper factors if we have the windows for it.
Those factors are not mind.
Right. Intuition isn't mind, it's the higher mind. It's a coming
Well,
from
I
a
don't
different
even
place.
want to. I don't want to put a label on it.
Okay.
Higher mind, lower mind. I'm not sure if any of that actually is. The only thing that's important to me, you see, the word belief is very commonly used, but hardly anyone knows that the word belief, the opposite, the the meaning of belief is idea, hypothesis, concept, theory, and so on. The word that means the opposite of belief, which is the word all of our listeners are interested in, is truth. Belief means the opposite of truth. Belief is a mental concept that is continually changing. Truth is something that is, and it's only gotten through direct experience. What is direct experience? Unfiltered awareness.
Right.
And so
Without the mind.
that's what unfiltered awareness is.
Right.
One of the common terms today is mindfulness. And I know what they mean when they say mindfulness, but it's really mindlessness.
I love that.
And why that is so important is because our identity with the mind is what makes it so difficult to actually uncover truth that sets one free.
I
And
agree.
so you speak about this intuitive function. Intuition is an aspect of vision. It's an aspect of vision that sees without visual clues in the typical way.
Right.
The eyes experience vision of the forms and so on that are out there. Intuition picks up something that often has yet not occurred. A mother will often be awoken in the middle of the night, taken out of bed, walked to the bedroom of a child, and there is the child needing to be changed.
Right. So it's a knowing, but right behind the eyes in the brain is the pineal gland. And that's
It's
also,
not right behind the eyes. The pineal,
well,
the
it's farther
location,
into the brain, but it's still
yes, you'd
back
have to
there.
go and if you put your index finger behind each ear and then push them together to the center of your brain, you'd come right on your pineal.
Right. It's hard to do where the bone seems to be
In the
anyway.
center of the brain. Yeah.
No, I agree, but it is back there, but still the energy coming through the eyes must infiltrate into the brain in very interesting ways.
It absolutely innervates the pineal and all the other life sustaining centers of the brain. But what's fascinating about the eye is that 95% of the cells in the back of the eye are the most um, sensitive things that pick up light of anything that exists.
Right.
They are sensing, and when I say light, they're not picking up form. They're picking up energy literally before
Well, they're picking up
it comes into
information.
form.
They pick up information.
Well, um, they're picking up energy before it's even recognized as information. They're
I
picking
love
up something.
that.
They're picking something that move, and you see what's critical about it is what we call intuition, which I'm describing now in terms of the rods in the back of the retina, that isn't just responsible for detecting, it's also responsible for initiating a response. So they detect and respond. That is very critical. The detection occurs effortlessly. We get it free of charge. We don't have to look for it, think about it, analyze it, nothing. It comes to us free. And that information is so powerful, even though it's so subtle, that it moves us. It innervates us.
Right.
Why is that important? Because most of the time when I'm interviewed, people say, well, how do you do that? What do I have to do for that? And I say, nothing.
I agree.
It's not in the doing, it's in the noticing that the doing occurs without us. So
I love that.
when a creature is in the wild and that senses something,
Right.
you see that creature take off like a bat out of
Right.
hell.
They don't have to process it any longer. They know.
And, and you're saying, wow, they really run fast. No, they're not running. Something is running them.
I love that. So
And
we're
yeah,
getting to the end of the show, and that's a great way to end the show. Thank you. This has been a wonderful discussion with you, and I hope we can continue again sometime soon. It's wonderful to talk about this, and I love your insight.
may I leave the listeners with just one thing?
Sure.
Every day we have multitude of experiences where something touches us. We notice something catches our eye. And most of the time, oh no, I can't talk to them. I don't know who they are. But what's catching our eye is literally looking for us.
Right.
It's looking
Look,
for us because
now
it's the next thing
this
moving
is an
us.
idea that we can continue with, but it's a
Yeah.
really, really wonderful idea. But how can people reach you? What's your website, etc.?
They can go to jacobliberman.org, O-R-G, and Lieberman is spelled Liberman.
That's great. And the book is Luminous Life, and it's so wonderful to talk with you. And thank you for being.
Thank you. I'm always happy to see you. I I am my heart is smiling in hopes that you will be feeling that smile and that will become your whole body, a big smile.
I love that. It's a great thought, and I'm smiling back to you. And
Thank you.
and again, thanks for being a guest on Energy Stew.
Peter, I'm a friend, not a guest. And I'm delighted to be here with you. And I wish you and your family the very best of everything
Right.
because you deserve it.
Well, and you too. Thank
All
you.
right. Be
And this
well, my friend.
you too. This is Peter Roth, your host of Energy Stew at prn.live. I can be reached at Peter at Heartriver, HEART river.org. I'd love to hear from you, and thanks so much for listening.